All right, man.
Couple minutes early.
A couple minutes early.
Love it.
I always have to be early with you.
Yeah, I like it.
I can't be on realtor time.
No.
Another crazy week, right? And
You
for those
think?
who dialed in, thank you so much.
Yeah.
For indulging us in this craziness. So the world is still insane. I don't know where to begin. How about Burning Man?
Yeah, that's crazy. One, that's on my bucket list. I definitely want to check it out. At some
I
point
don't
in my life.
really know what
I mean,
exactly it is.
I don't either. It just looks like something that would be uncharacteristic for me to do. So it's like this big festival out in the desert. Apparently,
Yeah,
you
what
know,
could
they
go
set up
wrong?
a society basically,
What
right?
could go wrong?
Yeah, apparently there was a rainstorm that happened and they got flooded and people couldn't get in. Or I think they're leaving today, trying to leave today, but it was like a rain. Now I know like my best friend from college, his younger brother goes, I think every year, and they love it. It's like just a big party. You know, and I think it's kind of any kind of party you want it to be, but I guess there was this huge rainstorm that doesn't really happen in the desert apparently, and they blocked all entrance and exits.
Weird timing.
Yeah, and again, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories out there. Like I saw a bunch of shit on social media about an Ebola breakout and FEMA was there. Like again, you don't know what's true and what's not, but I'm like, well, wait a minute, kind of makes like I could see that happening. Like, why can't people leave? They're locking people in because of the water. Like, really? Like,
Didn't Chris Rock and some dipshit guy or something? What's his name?
Diplo, I think.
Diplo.
I think he's like a DJ or something.
Sorry.
Yeah, there was a video of him like leaving. Those two like leaving with some people. They like took him out. They escaped. Like,
Yeah, I heard he hitchhiked or something.
Well, yeah, and he was just with like random people. They left with it because again, they weren't letting people leave.
So
they
the point
escaped.
is it a counterculture kind of thing?
I think that's what it is. Yeah,
but it's
so
now
it's-
it appears now that it's been like usurped by the wealthy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I heard this. They had like a temporary airport set up for like private planes to come in, and like I guess there's like different types of camps. And again, don't quote me on this, but there's camps like you can pay to be a part of, but you have to also like serve and volunteer, but you also get good food. I remember, I think a couple years ago, I watched a documentary. There's the one restaurant in the French Quarter in New Orleans that does the beignets. It's very famous for. I can't remember the name.
Mm-hmm.
They actually go out there and set up a restaurant during Burning Man. So it's like crazy.
Is it like hippie kind of stuff, like arts and crafts and things like
It's
that.
like that. I'm sure there's a lot of drugs and like other crazy shit that happens, but it's from my understanding is it's everything you want it to be, whatever you want it to be.
So it's a free for all.
It's free for all. Yes.
And at the end, they burn this effigy of a man.
Yes. Yes. Apparently so. Like it's crazy. I mean, and again, there's a lot of talk about like the counterculture and it's anti-religious. There's a lot of different things about it that I don't know what's true and what's not true. Like I just said, it'd be something interesting just to see.
Sounds like every heavy metal video from the 80s.
Yeah. Yes, that's basically it. Yes.
Yeah, fire,
Yeah.
drugs.
Yeah, it's definitely
mysticism.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Yeah, I mean there's and apparently it's a big deal. Like it's in the desert. Like if you saw pictures from it, like how many like 73,000 people I think went
Well,
there.
celebrities go, right?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Is
absolutely.
it kind of like a Bilderberg for the poor? I mean, what?
I guess. Yeah, I mean I guess it's a way of putting it. I just think it's people's escape. I think
Yeah.
people go and escape. Like a lot of corporate people my understanding is they go, like wealthy people, it's their escape to like take on a new identity for a week. People get dressed up in these crazy outfits, and yeah, it's nuts, dude. Like it's probably not your jam. It's probably not my jam either. But
I want to go.
I want to. Here's the reason why we had this debate in the office. We were talking about bucket lists. And I said, we all like Matt apparently doesn't have a bucket list, but we have bucket lists.
I can see that.
I said my bucket list is one. There's certain like sports things. Like I went to the Red Sox World Series bucket list, but there's also things that like my bucket list is things that are non-traditional for me to do, non-conventional, like things I wouldn't. People like that dude would never do that. I'm like, well, I want to do it just because you told me I wouldn't do it. That's kind of the stuff I want to do.
I get that.
So it's definitely an interesting bucket list. So I'm not going to share it on the show. It's quite long. Hopefully I'll accomplish it. Maybe not, but I'm going to die trying.
But it rained like crazy on this, folks, right?
Yep.
And I guess they were told to shelter in place.
Shelter in place, yes, and conserve food and water. Yep.
So there wasn't like a catastrophe on our hands.
I guess. I mean, there's so many.
How long was it? A week?
I think it ended. I guess it ended last night with they burned the man. I guess. Um, I don't know when it starts. It might be like a week or like 5 days long. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, so all right, so help me out with this.
Yeah.
So
I'm not the Burning Man expert.
I'm just saying. No. I'm saying. So they had to bring all these warnings and everything when there was all this water because they wanted them to shelter in place before they had a disaster.
Okay.
I think, to be honest with you, man, forced starving, a portion of the population for a couple of days might be actually a good thing.
Well, I mean,
they weren't going to die for lack of like calories in a 4 or 5 day period. I'm sorry, they wouldn't.
No, but there's also like no running water. There's a lot of just like there's no water, so there's conserved water. Like you can die without water. You can go without food. You can't go without water.
It was raining.
Yeah, but is that water you can drink, or do you have to like boil? I just think I understand what you're saying.
I don't know.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying I wouldn't err on the side of just let them figure it out. Like I think
why not
giving that well, because I think that's a whole different thing than Burning Man. That's like fucking survival of the fittest.
I think if you're going to go out into the desert,
okay,
and you're basically going to go counterculture for a week, 5 days. Mm-hmm. And live in tents and walk around the mud.
Some of them are in like nice RVs. Shit. It's not all hippie type shit. A lot of it is like very like glamping. So it's called.
Okay, if you're gonna go do that,
okay.
I mean, I at least think you should be prepared to tackle the elements for a couple of days if something bad happens.
Sure, I'm not. I understand. I understand. I also know that I would be the dude that would go out there in an RV and like I'm gonna sleep in the fucking RV. I'm not gonna get in a tent. Like I just think that's a big part of it. It's like it's counterculture, but not really. It's people that want to experience the counterculture without being part of the counterculture.
People that want to say they do things.
I don't even know if it's Instagrams. That. Like I don't even know. Like to me, it's not like that's like I'm the person. It's not counterculture. I just want to experience to see what it's like in that world. Like that's purely for me. It's like it's not about showing it to anybody.
Yeah.
It's not about it's like I just want to see, because some people talk about it and there's so many sides to it. I just want to experience it and see what it's actually like in person.
All right, so from counterculture, we'll go back into the news.
Okay.
So we didn't lead with him tonight, which was great. But apparently the narrative this week is that Mr. Trump's circle of influence or circle or co-conspirators,
co-defendants,
that the narrative, the mainstream narrative appears to be that somebody or multiple people in that group are going to turn on him. And that's going to, I don't know.
I don't think that's the case. Look, I think it's the media causing a stir as always. I mean, how much do you believe the media? I mean, let's be realistic. So of course they're going to say someone's turning on Trump. Like,
well, they got nothing else to talk to. It's like there's a lull right now of activity.
Correct.
Right.
That, and two, they want to throw shade and cause doubt and make people think that Trump has no shot. Like if people are going to turn on him, he's going to jail. We need to get behind other candidates. Like that's what I think a lot of this is right now. The more I peel it back. Like they want to just make people distance themselves from Trump under the assumption that he's not going to make it to be the nominee. So like, let's take it out early so people aren't supporting him now. We cast enough doubt that he will actually make the nomination. It'll actually make it to the election. So we get people behind someone else that we think we can beat. That's what I think is happening in the media. It's like, let's cast doubt now. So the moderates, the people that you kind of need, like there's always the Trump supporters, right? And there's the far left. It's the people in the middle you got to sway one way or the other. The moderates, I think, that could sway to Trump, they're trying to take that hunk of the vote and sway it to someone else. Because knowing, let's be honest, like take these indictments aside. If Trump gets a nomination and they don't put up a good Democratic candidate and there's no foul play, he wins, hands down. The country's too pissed for him not to win. Like that's how I see it.
I would hope that logic would bear out, but I mean, who knows?
That's how I see it. Because again, like I have friends that are liberal, that are, middle left, and no one's happy with what's going on in this country right now. Let's just be realistic. No, I haven't spoken to one person that has opposing political views from me that has said, yeah, I'm super pumped with this country right now.
Yeah.
Like, love that gas is high, love that interest rates are high, love that everything costs more, love that we have a president that doesn't know where he is fucking most of the time. No one has said this is great. So I think people are just like fed up with it all.
I mean, that's all bad. I just want them to leave little kids alone and let them figure things out and quit doing gender reassignment surgery.
It's a whole different story, man. And that's the other. But no, but I think
I don't think that's a lot to ask.
But no, but I think that's a lot of what's happening too. Why people are getting pissed, because we've lost our mind when it comes to shit like this. We've lost our mind.
You think?
Like, we can't have men competing in women's sports. Let's just be realistic. Like I was watching something the other day. I was talking about Canada. Cricket, sport. They said there is now, because Canada's a whole different world, there's now a transgender cricket player that's like dominating the women's cricket, but was like mediocre as a man, like never did anything, and now is also dominating the women's cricket scene.
Me, the solution is so easy. It's right in front of our faces.
And what is that?
You just create another league, another division.
Right, but the problem is, I agree 100%, but here's the problem. There's not enough people to fill the league.
I think that answers the question.
Well, that's exactly right. That answers the question. Then why are we doing this?
Correct.
Then why are we doing this? Why are we pandering to this?
Because it's all about disruption.
Elaborate.
Societal disruption. Well, I think it's very obvious that if you unwind the past couple of years, it really is about taking the voices of a small group of people. And you can argue how much is biological or how much is chosen in regards to the lifestyle of these people. But their goal of turning normal society on its head and being very loud and obnoxious and lashing out at people is bullying and intimidating the rest of society, which is unbelievable. And it's not, but that's kind of what's happening. Society is getting bullied by a small portion of society, and that portion is working on their whims, and whatever whims they have tomorrow, they're going to try to extract them on the rest of society. And whatever reason, out of the sake of kindness or whatever the reason, society is capitulating. That's what I see.
Okay. Not
disagreeing. That's painting with a broad brush, but that's kind of what I'm seeing.
Well, look, in my opinion, society's just fucked up right now. Like, common sense has left the building long time ago. Like, now we're in this state where like people just believe what they hear without any deduction or reasoning. I think when it comes to this whole gender we have to get back to normalcy.
If somebody said 25 years ago in open conversation that they believe that their 5-year-old has shown enough tendencies that we now believe that they're actually a little boy biologically, but they were actually a little girl. We're convinced that our 5-year-old has shown us enough that he should really be a she, and we're going to put them under the knife.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If someone said that in open fucking conversation 20 years ago, 25 years ago, you'd leave the party. And on the way home, you would say, that son of a bitch is out of it. Did you hear what he said?
Yeah.
Now when you hear this shit, as horrifying as that is on premise.
Yes.
Now when you hear it we're so beaten down intellectually and morally that it's no big deal.
Well, and I think the other problem I see with it is now we're blurring the lines between science and reality. It's like so we say, follow the science. Anymore? Follow the science, right? Okay, well, I'm pretty sure I was taught biology in high school, and there was a science, and there was a pretty definitive thing. You're either XY chromosomes or XX, whatever the other chromosomes. I'm not a fucking geneticist. Now it's like, well, you can actually be something else. It's like, well, okay, when do we start saying every part of science is pliable and mendable, because that's what's happening, right? We've taken a sliver of science, biology, and said it's mendable, it's pliable to what our beliefs are, right? So where is absolute truth? Where is absolute belief? We cannot say that, this is a red can. Well, is it? Like now we're saying, well, you can determine whether it's red or not. Maybe take color blindness aside.
Yeah, if red offends you, you can make it another color so you'll feel better.
This can identifies as a blue can. It's like, well, where do we draw the line? We have to get back to, there has to be some level of absolute, right? Math is math. Science is science, right? They're disciplines that I believe have some absolute truths to them.
Well, again, I think we mentioned a couple weeks prior, if we take the absolute truths out of society, you will have anarchy.
Yes.
We'll have anarchy with a bunch of stupidity, quite frankly. You've got to have rock solid bedrock truths to have an organized society. You have to have.
That's a fundamental tenet of society.
You would think.
I mean, look at the movie Idiocracy. Like, that was kind of based on what we fucking are right now.
Just like Matt Judge, right?
Yeah, I mean, but think about it, like we
genius movie.
Yeah, but it's sad.
Came
like,
true.
Exactly, it's coming true. Like, we have to get back to some level of absolute truth. There are things that can be discussed and debated, and yes, truths can change, right? Beliefs can change, but there are some fundamental things. Like, an element is an element. Hydrogen is hydrogen. Silver is silver. Gold is gold. Those are fundamental things that have been proven. Also, I thought men are men, women are women. But now that's where. So when do we say, well, this isn't really gold?
Well, okay.
This gold identifies as silver. Therefore, I'm only going to pay you what silver's worth for it. Like, it's a simplistic example, but it's kind of like what we're fucking doing.
And again, so I would say, I think it's a little weird. I can't say I associate with it because I'm not living this life. But if you are a man and you feel like you should be a woman,
yes,
I'm okay with you living as a woman.
100%. Yes.
But you can't turn my society upside down because you feel in your unique situation that you need complete consideration 24/7 for your way of life, because it's just not possible. You're trying to do it.
Correct.
Society can't flip on its head
Correct.
to accommodate every whim.
Correct.
It can't be done. Because what's next? Some guy's going to say he's going to identify as a billy goat. Well, now all of a sudden I got to, you know what I mean? Come on.
Think about it this way. So put it in even simplistic terms, even more simplistic terms. I decide I'm only going to drive on the left side of the road. And society should mend to like, I grew up in England. I only drive on the left side of the road. Fuck you. That's my belief. That's where I identify I should drive. It's like, okay, if you want to drive on the left side of the road, that's fine. You take the risk of doing it. But what we're trying to do is, like, I don't care what you identify as.
Order.
Like, exactly. You're trying to disrupt order based upon your belief. That's the same thing. You drive on the left side of the road because you came from England and believe that's how you should drive. You're disrupting societal order.
Yeah, which leads to dangerous circumstances for the rest of society.
Correct. Yes, absolutely.
Like not arresting people in disadvantaged neighborhoods because they have obstacles to overcome. True, but you can't remove law enforcement from them because you feel bad for their circumstances.
Correct.
The law is the law, and if you don't protect society as a whole, you have lawlessness.
And how does that create learning within a disadvantaged society? If you just say, okay, well, because you grew up this way,
it's reverse.
It's perpetuating the problem.
100%.
Like, we need to put order in place and teach people right from wrong and have morality back. And, we can't remove law and order from a society just because this society or this part of society was disadvantaged.
Yeah.
You're just creating more disadvantage by taking away the rules and allowing it to be lawless.
All right. Let me ask you about this idea I just read. There seems to be a group of conservatives, political conservatives, that are pushing a DeSantis and Haley ticket, and for them to merge and join even before, for those two parties to basically, Haley would be dropping out of the primary and joining DeSantis to create this ticket going into the primary, as if that unity or that pairing would give DeSantis a better shot in the primaries.
Okay.
What's your thoughts on that? Based upon the field.
So I don't know enough about Haley. So I haven't dug into her much. Like I know surface level stuff about her. I think DeSantis has to win over the Trump Republicans. I think he is looked too much as a rhino, and I think people see him as a systemic Republican. And I think he's got to find a way to win over that middle American Trump Republican. That's how I see it. I think he's got the conservatives. I think he's got the traditional Republican. I think the new Republican, the Trump Republican, I think DeSantis does not have in the bag. He's too polished.
Okay.
I don't think
associating with the people as much.
He's not associating, and I don't think Haley helps him with that.
Interesting.
As far as what I know of her, again, I may be completely wrong.
Okay.
I don't. It's too early, I think, to make that call.
Okay. I mean, it's a unique strategy.
It is a unique
to
strategy
do it before the primary.
Yeah, it's a very unique strategy, but is Haley going to just give up?
I mean, obviously to do
what
this,
about Vivek? He's the
to.
one that's raising in the polls the most. Like that dude's going everywhere, talking to everybody, and is not shying away from anything.
Mm-hmm.
And he's young. He's got ideas. Maybe he's right. I don't know if he's right or wrong with his ideas, but
well, no one's right for everything, and that's very symptomatic of where I wanted to go next. But is that we are almost demanding, like, we are demanding 100% agreement from our politicians. Like,
yeah, that's never going to be the case.
There's absolutely no way. Even if this is your favorite guy or gal to run for this office, if you drill down on policy, you're going to find things, and we have to be smart voters and smart citizens to realize, no matter what we see on social media, we need to realize we can't agree with everybody completely.
No,
and
never.
We can't destroy somebody.
No.
If 1 out of 20 opinions doesn't meet our match, you know what I mean?
And we also have to get back to, like I saw Vivek on interviewing with Al Sharpton, and they were trying to call him out on something he said 20 years ago to Al Sharpton about, like, well, you questioned me back then whether I had a political experience. He's like, I was an 18-year-old kid. Like, of course I'm going to question that. He's like, you're questioning me that now? He's like, I understand. Like, I look at the world differently. Like, we can't keep holding. We can't, again, in my opinion, maybe people differ, but we can't hold somebody to all their past views and beliefs, because my views have changed immensely over the years. And if I run for office, you can't hold me to views I had in the past. Oh, we found this soundbite of you 20 years ago. I say stupid shit all the time. That doesn't mean it's what my beliefs are today.
Yeah. It's a very unsophisticated way of conducting one's life if you can't. If you really can't look at current time, make an evaluation and judgment, make a decision and move forward, because what you're doing in that circumstance where you're drilling down and investigating people over a long period of time is you're not dealing with the present.
Correct.
Right? And we need to be sophisticated enough to realize that time and a better society just works better if we deal with the present, make decisions, and go forward.
Yes.
Right? It's almost batshit crazy the way we operate in politics is we have to go back and extract what they did as a 6-year-old toddler in preschool.
Right. Well,
it's nuts.
Well, and I think we do that because there's nothing else to go after. But here's the thing. There's someone asked me on Instagram actually yesterday, like sent me a direct message and just asked me a political question. Not for my views. Said, if you were choosing a senator, what qualities do you look for? And I said, it's very easy. Authenticity and the ability to change your mind. Authenticity means I want the real person. I want someone that has the ability to listen to an argument, take in new facts, and change the position.
Good luck.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but to me, like, that makes a good politician. I can be convinced because guess what? I don't believe I'm always right. I believe my beliefs are what they are now based upon the information I have. If I have new information that can change my beliefs, I'm pliable enough to do that. I'm not going to be so steadfast in my beliefs just because I feel like I have to. If you convince me of something otherwise, great. No problem. I can change it. And I think politicians need to be more comfortable doing that, admitting that, and I think we would solve more problems in this country. Instead of holding to these views.
I can only think of a handful of times in my life that I can remember that came through the news medias where politicians from my younger years, recognized mistakes and changed opinion and could articulate it genuinely. I think Bill Clinton did it a couple times. I know Bob Dole did it on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
that era and back, not they all didn't do it. I don't think Gingrich really did it, but I think that there were politicians, if you really paid attention, who had the ability to have a little bit of humility, admit that they had it wrong. At least they believe they had it wrong, and they modified their opinion.
It's as simple as that. Just do that. Just do that. Like, we should be able to do that in this country. Like, we should be able to.
Okay, so on the Democratic side, I think this is just as fascinating as we sit here today, as the Republican side. Trump and the litigation and all that is an interesting observation, but the Democratic side is just as interesting because it appears that Joe Biden is saying all the things that leads you to believe that and you build in that very well-known Biden stubbornness that he is going to run. Like, he's in it, and he's going to, and there's a lot of people in the Democratic Party, movers and shakers, that are going on every news on all networks are saying that he's not going to. He's going to bow out, and this one's going to challenge him, this one's going to challenge him, or there's going to be a deal cut here or there. I think that's far more fascinating to me than what's going on with Trump right now.
Yeah, I mean, Trump's a distraction. There's a real problem on the Democratic side. Like, that dude cannot run.
You would think.
I mean, someone's got to tap on the shoulder and be like, dude, it's time to tap out.
Okay, so who's going to do that?
I don't have any idea.
He doesn't have a strong vice president. Had there be someone like a Gavin Newsom or a strong personality who was a vice president, you could almost see the play.
Yeah, right. You can't with this.
You can't see it with her. So then you have a wholesale change, like the whole team.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's, to me, that's going to be hard for them to do. They've got to do it quick. They can't wait to the last minute. Like, we're in September of 2023. We're a year out from the election, 14 months out from the election. I think some adjustment, if they're going to do it, needs to be made in the next 6 months.
Okay, and for those that supported Kamala Harris when she was running in the primary and then supported this presidency, and you supported her, I want to ask you point blank, how are you going to feel when they throw her to the curb if they change this president team and they don't give her the nod? Like, if you supported her and that was your candidate, how do you feel now if they throw her to the curb? They have to answer to that section of the voting block. Harris supporters.
Again, I still come back to, I think everybody is pissed. I think the people that voted for her realize, we were sold a bill of goods that we didn't really get. I don't think that's going to piss off voters not putting her in. She's just not qualified. Like, name one thing she's done during this presidency. Name one thing. Other than make gas.
It's just the way she's conducted her vice presidency. It's
terrible.
It's just, it ranks up. It ranks up there with with Dan Quayle, and I would probably say it's worse. It's worse than Dan Quayle's vice presidency. I really believe that when it comes to gaffes and
she's an idiot.
The inability to articulate her point,
the inability not to laugh at inappropriate times or chuckle. I mean, look, politics is just really fucked up right now. Let's be real. I mean,
I think the Democrat side's way more fascinating, though, because it's such a weird play.
Well, yeah, but I think it's fascinating because you have a president who's clueless.
He's vacant.
Completely vacant, yet thinks he's going to run again. You have people that have a hard time that don't want to break the news to him yet. I think they will. And I don't think we have a clear front runner on that side. I think Newsom comes with a lot of baggage.
Well, yeah, I don't think he's the answer for them, but I mean, I don't.
But I think a lot of people think he is the answer because he's young, he's charismatic, he's good looking,
speaks well.
He speaks well. It's like, but who are they? They already have California. They need someone that's going to win the other states.
Correct.
And everybody outside of California fucking hates that dude. I don't think he's the right. I don't know though. Like I just want to get through this fucking election with some normalcy in this country and get someone in there. I don't give a shit who it is at this point in time that just can bring some unity to the country so we can stop fighting with each other, so we can stop calling each other fucking names.
And it's funny, like, even if he can't bring unity, I just want him to be able to articulate a point and answer a question directly and look the look the questioner in the eye
Yeah.
and give an articulate answer. I just want
Yes.
that.
Or just bring decency back to the country. We don't even have to get along. We don't have to agree. Just bring some level of decency where we're not so quick to attack one another. We're not so quick to resort to name calling. Like if you watch
couldn't
any of
agree
those
with you more.
videos where like Ben Shapiro, like I've watched a couple of these where he goes to colleges and these liberals start asking like crazy questions and he corners them, like backed into a corner. They're just like, you're fucking ugly. You're fucking short. Like they just resort to insults.
Oh yeah, to
It's
the
like,
lowest common
how
denominator.
did we get here in this country?
Because ultimately it's an intellectual conversation to discuss an issue. And
Right.
to do that intellectually, you have to have a level of humility to acknowledge when you've been enlightened at any moment in that
Correct.
conversation that you are
Yes.
not correct. And then it's saying, okay, you give me something to think about.
Yes.
Great point.
Yes. That's all you have
Who
to say.
says that anymore?
Correct.
They come with fear and hatred and they get the
Yes.
microphone and they scream at
Yes.
people and they just don't want to hear them.
And it breaks my heart because I have two daughters that are growing up. And I want them to grow up in a world where they can be okay debating someone, being okay being wrong, not having to resort to insults or not having to have insults thrown at them because they may prove somebody wrong.
Yeah.
We need a decent society. And that's my biggest fear for my kids. Growing up in a society where decency is gone.
Well, that's a great transition because apparently there was a what's his name?
Morgan Wallen, that was a fucking
Morgan Wallen concert here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
The porta potty
Which
pounder, man.
I heard was great. There was 2 nights I heard it was fantastic. However,
Oh,
what even upstage Morgan Wallen? Sorry,
best.
Sierra, my stepdaughter, loves the guy. Apparently, there was a fight at the porta potty.
That was the best video I think I've seen in the longest time. It was fantastic.
Well, you know the circumstance a little better than I. Why don't you unwind it back?
Well, so I watched the video before having the context, and Dave Portnoy from Barstool actually
We'll
interviewed
get there.
the girl. But basically, the video is you just see these women in the porta potty, and then these two girls like just go in and start jumping this woman in a porta potty. All of a sudden, you see this other girl come out, the romper stompers, what they've been calling her now, Halloween costume pending potentially. She
make
just
$1 million
literally goes in, rips these two girls out by their hair, literally punches one dead in the face, comes back, punches the other one dead in the face, and then kicks her and shoves her back in the fucking porta potty. Apparently, that girl was the daughter of the woman who was getting jumped. So in the interview, she says she didn't realize she cut the line. She admitted, she's like, I cut the line. I didn't realize it. My mom was standing out. I had to go to the bathroom really bad. My mom was standing outside the porta potty, like protecting the door. These two women just jumped her and threw her in the porta potty. And she's like, I came out and she's like, what am I supposed to do? She's like, I'm going to beat their ass. Never been in a fight in her life. First time she's ever been in a fight. She whooped the shit out of those two girls. The best part of that whole interview was like, he was like, what happened when it was over? She's like, we all just went about our day. Like, no security, no one got thrown out. Like, if that was dudes, like, I'm sorry, this may sound sexist. If that was dudes, people would have been arrested, taken out of the concert. This was
I
like
agree.
a brawl. One of the worst ones I've ever seen. Like, she literally punched two girls in the face, stomped one, slammed her fucking body into a porta potty, and she's like, oh, we just all went back to the concert.
They're not the cleanest things, right?
Right. I'm just like, and then the memes have been incredible. Like, all over. Her standing there with like a wrestling belt. I saw like the Halloween costume called literally the romper stomper. It says comes with the blood of your enemies. Mercy not included. But that's Pittsburgh. But again, like this is where we are in society. This is where we are. Now look, I get it. Like, I would expect my daughters to do the same thing. If they come out of a bathroom and see their mother getting beat up by two girls, like,
Right.
Absolutely you do something. You protect your mother.
Of course, everything is on camera now.
Well, right. That's the thing. I must have watched that video 100 times. I'm not
So
gonna
Dave
lie.
Portnoy from Barstool,
Yes.
Barstool Sports
Yes.
interviewed her, which I saw, and I
It
was
was
like,
great.
of course Dave is.
It was
Of course Dave Portnoy's going to
Fantastic.
And her basic premise was
She was literally just protecting her
protecting
mom.
her mother.
That was it. And she's like, what am I supposed to do? She's like, they're jumping my mom. I'm going to come out and beat their ass. Like, that's what she did. And the mom's apparently all embarrassed. And she's like, yeah. She's like, I don't know what to do with all this fame. And it went viral. I mean, she's literally viral now.
Ladies and gentlemen, country music and beer. See what happens.
But I mean, the best part is it's just like after it was over, they all just got up and just like walked away like nothing happened. Like if that was dudes, like someone would have been arrested, thrown out, like crazy. It was by far the best video I watched all weekend.
Well, so Portnoy, Dave Portnoy does the One Bite Everybody Knows the Rules, and he basically has been doing pizza reviews since the pandemic.
Yep.
And they're generally funny, and you know, I kind of always skip to the middle to see what the rating is. You know, I'm sure I'm not alone in doing that, but I just saw one randomly.
Oh yeah,
where some guy, I guess he gave him like a 6.2 or something. I don't know the story.
Yeah,
I'll let you articulate the story. But apparently, the guy came out and started challenging him, and it got a little bit caustic there.
Oh yeah, it was. It would just happen last week. I watched his interview on Tucker. It was, I think, Somerville, Massachusetts, this Dragon Pizza. And he was reviewing Dragon Pizza, it's called. So he was reviewing it, and he went outside, and the guy like came out, and he's like, you know, enjoy your pizza like every other customer does, but I don't appreciate what you do for small business. Now, Dave Portnoy's raised $50 million. He's like, my pizza reviews, if they're good, can change that business forever. And he even said on the interview, he's like, even if it's bad, he's like, I try and make it not bad by saying like, yeah, I'm gonna rate it this. That's because I'm not a Parmesan fan, or I'm not this. Like, even if he's gonna rate the pizza,
he's not out to hurt anybody.
He's not out to hurt anybody. He's just out to give honest reviews. This dude lost his fucking mind on the video. Apparently, he's like a super like raging liberal, like hates Trump, like hates, you know. And watching the video was hilarious. Like they're just fighting back and forth. Like, and he gave him like these the worst pizza place in the history of America. Like, and I was listening to the interview actually on the way here, and he was like, I never want to see anybody's business hurt. He's like, I want this dude's business destroyed. Because, I mean, the guy was a total asshole. Like, if you watched it, I watched the whole video. Like, he was a total asshole.
And you can't be too great of a business person when you let your personal emotions about anything, a subject, a person. I mean, he had to know that was going to have a negative consequence.
I mean, if you have half a brain, but think about it. You have Dave Portnoy there reviewing your pizza. Even if it's not a great review, people are still going to come
and engage him
to be curious.
Absolutely.
Okay, he went there. This must be something good about this. And like you said, even when he gives bad reviews, it's still, I'm rating it this because of this. Not because it's shitty pizza. It's just, I don't like this type of pizza.
Right.
I don't like this on my pizza. And this guy just lost his mind. And there's like, fuck you.
But isn't that symptomatic of like what we just talked about?
That's exactly right.
It's like, so that guy has a built-in bias toward Portnoy. It could be for anything. It's something you and I don't even know what it is, right?
Yep.
So that built-in bias like consumes him.
Mm-hmm.
The rage consumes him. Overtakes logic.
Yes.
And when you're a business owner, Mr. Entrepreneur Attorney, that's probably the last thing you want to do.
It's the absolute last thing you want to do. Like, the customer is always right. Like, right. I mean, when you think about it from just a business perspective, right? I look at, so I'm a business owner, you know, I own a law firm, and I look at, you know, every one of my clients is important to me. Even if we disagree on something, even if they don't like something we do, like I still treat them with decency and kindness because I care about every single person that chooses to work with us. Whether it's for a $100 transaction or $100,000 transaction, like I care about every single person the same, like that level of, because that's being a business owner. Like you have to care, and you have to be cognizant of how you act and how you treat people. That dude, like common sense, left the building. He just overreacted. I don't even know what it was. Like I watched it. I'm like, what caused this? He's like, he said he hates what you do. He hates what he does. It's like,
how could you hate what he
raised
does?
$50 million during the pandemic for small businesses. He's changed people's lives by, and even Dave was saying, he's like, I have people that hate me. He's like, but the one thing they'll never say is like, yeah, we hate him, but you can't take away the fact he's helped small business. Like, that's the one thing he's done. Whether you like his views or not, like that's the one thing he's done. And that guy, like, he just came unhinged.
I don't like it. I mean, I've seen enough Dave Portnoy video, both for the pizza stuff and for other stuff. Like, I don't know. Like when you say hate his views, I don't think he shares enough of his philosophical point
I mean, he's pretty conservative. He's a Trump supporter. Yeah, he definitely is.
Okay, he's
interviewed Trump. He interviewed Trump. Like
I saw it.
He's definitely he leans more right, definitely. But I think he's also like he's just a dude. Like, and again, we can't. This is the problem I have in this country. If someone has a political view that's opposed to ours, that's how we define the person.
Like, it's an identity.
It's like you are a Trump supporter.
Encompassing it.
Well, no, I'm a lawyer. I'm a dad. I'm a father. I'm all kinds of other things. But the moment if
I'm a Red Sox fan,
also true. But like if I sit there and said I'm a Trump supporter, people that disagree with Trump, that's how they label me. Nothing else matters.
That's so elementary
school. And that's the problem.
That's so elementary school.
Right. And that's the problem with this country. We got to that. We're at that place where we can't take a holistic view of an individual. We take a very, like, what is the one identity I'm going to give you that makes me hate you? And that's what I'm going to give you.
And see, that really perturbs me because, no, it doesn't offend me, but it perturbs me because I try in my life, and I have for so long, to personally, I'm talking about myself, to involve myself in a whole wide range of shit.
Okay.
So if someone was going to identify me as this or that, are you a guitar dealer? Are you a realtor? Are you a baseball nut? Are you a podcaster? I do so much that it kind of is hard for someone to really, I don't want to be stigma. I don't want the stigma of being labeled as a one-trick pony. I've always fought against that my entire life.
Absolutely.
And I'm not alone. I think you got some of that. I think a lot of people have that.
Yes.
We throw all that to the wind when we try to find the identifying feature of someone and then label them. And if it goes against what we like, it's no good.
Yeah.
That's elementary school stuff, man.
It is. And I think a lot of it has to do with, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think people do that because they fear if they don't, they may actually get along with the person.
Right.
And their views may change.
Bingo. We have a winner.
Yeah, but that's really what I think it is. It's like, okay, I'm just going to label you this because if I label you this, I won't look at everything else. And then I don't have to worry about maybe agreeing with you. Or maybe having a conversation where, maybe I was wrong. Or maybe my views do need to change. Like that would be like someone labeling me a staunch Republican, which I'm not. And like but forgetting that I've given talks on kindness. And like, I believe in that. It's just like, no, you're an asshole. You're an asshole because you voted for Trump. You're conservative. Like, you're an asshole. It's like, well, am I? Like, I've done a lot of other things. Like, I think people just want to label because it makes it easy for them
100%.
to navigate life.
Well, I can take my own personal experience of just doing this podcast.
Yeah.
People have, I've had people say to me, well, you joke that you don't like the president, and you didn't vote for him. I said, well, no, I didn't vote for him.
Right.
But you're also like, you're a bald guy or bald white guy, in your middle 50s. I knew I was going to walk in here and I'm a liberal and I knew we weren't going to get along. And I got here, we got along.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
no shit.
All these things you labeled me. So you saw me as a bald white guy in his 50s. And you knew that I really, just never really voted Democrat for the most part,
right.
Because
bald,
you made me as some kind of right-wing nut job.
Right.
Like, how fucked up was that?
It's completely fucked up. But that's what people are doing.
No. And I give this gentleman who said that the courage. I commend him for his courage to tell me this.
Yeah, I get it.
And to have the humility to say, hey, I had it wrong.
Yeah, right. That's fantastic.
Hello.
Right. That's what we need. That's exact what you just articulated is exactly what we need to get this country back on track. People like that are going to have the humility to say, I was wrong. I had the wrong impression. You've changed my mind. You've changed my views. Like, it's as simple as that. And like, how the fuck we can't get there drives me crazy.
I just find it fascinating that we delude ourselves as a whole in this country. We delude ourselves to believe that political philosophy is such an important part of our being as a human in 2023 that that's the major defining characteristic.
Right.
When the reality is the unwashed masses of the group of us, if you really ask them to articulate the concepts of political philosophy, they can't fucking tell you.
Correct.
They're not well read enough. They're not well spoken enough about it.
Yeah.
They can't actually explain
Correct.
why that's so important,
Mm-hmm.
but yet they use that term
Mm-hmm.
to label and brand and either disassociate or associate
Yeah.
based upon that. And they can't even articulate it themselves.
Right.
I'm sorry. That's
they're-
my observation.
They're well watched, not well read. And that's the problem. We have people that just watch the media and do what the media tells them to do and believe what the media tells them instead of deducing it themselves and doing the intellectual archaeology to dig into what actually is.
Good. Well, before we wrap this up here, I do want to mention, did you see any of Joe Rogan's latest podcast, once again with Bill Maher?
I haven't watched it yet, no.
I want to recommend that to people.
Okay.
Bill Maher was always real coarse.
Yeah.
That was my interpretation of Bill for a long time. And fundamentally, I don't know. I won't say he was on the wrong team. I never found him really funny. I know he's a comedian.
Yeah, I agree.
And was it Real Time with Bill Maher?
Real Time with Bill Maher.
Yeah,
on
and
HBO.
I used to love the battles because in the end, Bill had a way of turning it around and making kind of it funny, and he would take the edge off of it a little bit.
He would. Yes, I agree.
But it's funny to see how he has really moderated a bit some of his stances, which he openly talks about, because his concept of liberalism from throughout his life, he calls it 90s liberalism and before, is gone. He goes, those are now moderate to right-leaning fundamentals.
Yeah, okay.
In today's world.
Yeah.
Liberalism today is what he considered like the far left.
Yeah.
In the 90s and back.
Yeah,
it's
I
a
would agree
fascinating to hear him articulate. It's really interesting.
I'm gonna have to watch that.
Yeah, I recommend that to anyone. Bill Maher, if you can take Bill. I mean, he's kind of like an acquired taste. But then again, for a lot of people, Rogan is too.
Yeah.
But the two of them together, it's kind of, I won't say it's magic, but it's a good 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bill
it's a
Maher,
good 2 hours.
I can take him in bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
Because he gets a little bit too off the rails for me sometimes.
Yeah, but I have to. It's funny. It's funny you said that. Like, I had to take a humble step back and examine it for what it was. Like the last time he was on, and I said that here's a guy that's obviously pretty well read, pretty well versed, has interviewed a shit ton of people from all political spectrums.
Correct.
If he's formed these opinions, at least he's coming from an educated standpoint. We may just agree on tenets of his beliefs and my beliefs, whatever. But at least I can actually give him a nod of like, at least he's coming at it from a point of intellectualism.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Can I dare say that?
Yeah, I agree with that, definitely.
And that gives it a little more validity to me, regardless of whether it matches my beliefs or not.
100%.
He's just not spouting bullshit.
No,
so
he
believes
not.
this day because he heard something.
Correct. I would agree with
which
that.
Which is not how most of society maneuvers.
No.
Right?
No, I will give you that, absolutely. Yes, I 100% agree with that.
Last point.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about it so many times, but when I was a young kid, I listened to the band Rush a lot, and I read a lyric one time that sent me to buy my first Ayn Rand book when I was 12.
Okay.
I went to the library. They didn't have the book I was looking for, but they had one called, the book I was looking for was called Anthem. It was a novel by Ayn Rand that was in this song.
Okay.
They had the book called The Virtue of Selfishness.
Okay.
Now, who wouldn't be fascinated to read a book called The Virtue of Selfishness, even at 12? And it was a deep read, but not big.
Okay.
I took that home, freaked out my parents, was in my bedroom reading this book.
Okay.
I revisited it again all these years later, and I have read it in the 90s a couple times. I sat reading this book, and I said to myself, isn't it interesting how it was a little caustic of a read in that era, but now there's all these, I read this book, it resonates with me, and there's some truth in there. Okay. But just mentioning and showing that I had an Ayn Rand book on my lap and a picture, I did it on purpose. I put it on social media. The amount of volatile private messages I got was incredible.
Interesting.
Not enough courage to put it out on the wall.
Of course, dude. Why?
But amazing the ire it raised with so many people.
Interesting.
I go, this isn't Hitler's Mein Kampf here. This is like Ayn Rand. It's a big difference.
Yeah, interesting.
But I just found it funny that we even if they took the bait. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I wanted to see, and I even told my wife at the time, I'm gonna explain that I revisited this book and I did it as a kid just to see what happens.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, I don't think most people even know who that is. I said, maybe not. But I was surprised.
Yeah.
It really pissed off some of my friends. And for that, I am sorry.
Yeah.
It's just a fucking book.
It's just a book. Yeah, I get it, man. Some people just get triggered by shit.
Yeah, so I just we need to really take a deep breath.
Yeah, let's just all just get along, man. Yeah. Let's just don't worry, be happy. Like the song used to go from the fucking 80s, man.
I mean,
don't worry, be
you
happy.
You didn't have to go back that far. Didn't Pharrell write a song Happy?
Yeah, yes, he did.
I remember my kids were little at the time. They was in Despicable Me movie, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that song didn't make you feel good, right?
Life is a lot easier when you're positive and you're optimistic and you're willing to treat people with kindness, decency, and respect. It gets a lot easier. Life. It's very easy to maneuver when you have that outlook.
You would think.
There's no reason to be pissed off all the time. Like life's too short. We can be gone tomorrow. Like gone tomorrow.
So, yep. I think we can end on a final note there for sure. All right, friends. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will be back next week with. I mean, we're never going to run out of material, right?
Never.
Have a great week.
See ya.
It's hard turning this thing off.
We will never run out of material.
Hold on a second here. Let me.
Oh, shit.
Oh man. Alrighty then.
My back is so